Today, Congress leader Salman Khurshid has claimed at a book launch that what's happening in Bangladesh could actually happen here in India as well. His comment was met with anger as the BJP now urged him to keep rashtraneeti above rajneeti. Now, the coup in Bangladesh, visuals of which are on your screens right now, show you how democracy was trampled upon. There were protesters who were storming the Bangladesh parliament, sitting on the chairs of MPs and also allegedly showing the young protesters smoking inside the residence. In fact, there were similar pictures a few days ago in Sri Lanka, where protesters occupied the Sri Lankan presidential and the prime ministerial residences. Gotabaya Rajapaksa had to step down and leave the country. The story of Pakistan is well documented as well. In this audio clip from PKG 805 airline, which carried the then Army Chief Musharraf on his flight back from Sri Lanka, before this flight landed in Karachi, Nawaz Sharif had dismissed Musharraf and replaced him with General Ziauddin. Here is that clip in which the command tower on the directions of Nawaz Sharif has asked the plane to be diverted.
सर आवाज बोल रहा हूँ सर सर जनरल साहब यहाँ है 805 मस्ट लैंड है सर आप इनसे बात करें हेलो 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 हाँ हेलो कौन बोल रहे हैं वकील बोल रहा हूँ वकील मैं जनरल इफ्तिखार बोल रहा हूँ जी सर जहाज को आप डायरेक्ट इसको कराची एटीसी के साथ शुरू कर दें एटीसी को कांटेक्ट कर लो क्या सर एयरक्राफ्ट ही विल बी गाइडेड बाय द एटीसी इन कराची Right, sir, but he is saying that he is planning and he said, I will let you know. You just tell the pilot to get directly in touch with ADC Karachi. Pakistan 805, I'm getting you incoming. She is out of 120. Request intention. Hello? Hello? Sir, land क्यों नहीं कर रहे हैं, sir? ये वो नहीं land कर रहा, वो सीधा climb कर रहा. He said, I'm trying to set you, I'm going up, so I have very little fuel. So he is out of already one. तो ये तो कोई बात नहीं बनी ना, ये must land air land क्यों नहीं कर रहा है? उसको कह रहे वापस आओ, वो नहीं आ रहा. Pakistan 805, turn left heading 240, vectoring for Karachi for landing. You are hereby directed to please land at Karachi airport and Karachi control.
Now, in contrast, if you take a look at the Indian subcontinent, apart from the countries in the neighborhood, India has witnessed protests, has witnessed riots. We have dealt difficult issues like Kashmir. We have dealt the insurgency of Maoists, but never in the history of our country has anyone gone into the parliament and shown contempt the way that we saw in Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. This is proof that in the global league of democracies, India remains the beacon of light. It's our chance to take a step, appreciate the country we live in. We call this telecast and we call it Thank You, Bharat. So, let's start this conversation. And the premise that I'm trying to put in this telecast, Ambassador Manju said, is the kind of narrative that certain politicians are trying to build over here. Salman Khurshid with this kind of commentary saying that similar unrest could be witnessed in India, that there is likelihood of a coup taking place within the country and the current dispensation be displaced with violent protests, deaths, destruction, properties being burnt down, houses being burnt down, people being lynched. Do you think this comparison is a right one to make?
No, I don't think it's the right comparison. But things are going to be a little more difficult now after what has happened in Bangladesh because of our borders and from where we can expect, elements inimical to India based in Bangladesh coming into the country and trying to foment trouble. Already we are seeing that terrorism has increased, terrorist attacks have increased in Jammu and Kashmir. China, of course, is sitting on, is sort of in an intimidating position on our border. And so we are in a difficult situation, and the Khalistani elements are also being encouraged. So there is a bit of, a cause for worry. But I don't think there's a cause for alarm, at least in the near term. But yes, in the future, we don't know how, if these elements are able to group together, work together, then it could be a difficult, very difficult time. But I don't think anything like what has happened in Bangladesh should happen here, because our army has traditionally and still remains apolitical, and I think they would not. This kind of coup, I think, is not expected. I don't know in what context, Mr. Salman Khurshid made his statement, but I think it is going to be a very difficult situation, a difficult time coming for India in the wake of what has happened and has happened one after the other around us in each of the countries, in our neighborhood, in India's neighborhood. It's going to be a difficult time for us. But I don't think that there will be this kind of, there could be violence, there could be protests in some areas. Already in Manipur, we see that happening. And it's calmed down a bit, but it happened there. And there was an attempt to rip up things even in...
But, Ambassador Manju said, what I'm trying to at this point of time bring together as a premise over here, talking about how Pakistan has seen assassinations and military coups, and repetitively the prime ministers who are installed as puppets of the army. There's something similar that has been played out several times in Sri Lanka. We take a look at what is happening in Maldives right now. We've taken a look at Mauritius. We've taken a look at Bangladesh. And in Nepal, in fact, the royal family had been completely brought down and there were assassinations. So here you have India amongst all its neighbors, which is surrounded by difficulties and surrounded by strain, has ensured that democracy prevails, and democracy prevails successfully. Here, there was emergency in our country that lasted a little less than 2 years, but there was an election, and Morarji Desai was elected rightfully after he won the votes, and there was a democratic process that was followed. There has never been in our country that there has been a military coup that has happened, that a government has been uninstalled forcefully by the military coming into force, or extremists coming together and pushing and sending a prime minister into exile to another country.
Absolutely. That way we have a very strong tradition of non-interference by the military, and this kind, and they've always acted in ensuring the safety and security of the people and of the country. And I think that is, we are definitely so far, not in this similar thing, and our army has kept out of politics, has kept out of this kind of thing, and I don't expect it to happen even now. I don't think they're going to come into and do anything, like a coup or anything like that. But unrest in general and difficult times, I think, could be there in the future, given our entire neighborhood has been thrown into turmoil, and as you very rightly said, these countries have had a history of army rule, repeated army rule, and repeated and very often I think with support from outside elements, and they have created an unsafe and insecure atmosphere in our neighborhood, in India's neighborhood. And India now is the only one which is still strong, and a strong democrat with strong democratic credentials, and I expect that this will continue.
Sumit, coming to you now, what is being implied over here by Salman Khurshid is sinister. It's a soft concern, because here he says that India could be the next country that witnesses a coup, that witnesses this sort of violent unrest. There have been accusations being made by the BJP that this is what the Congress is hoping for the country to become, an anarchy. And there have been a number of these questions that have time and again been raised by India, by the government. When you put India below Bangladesh and Sri Lanka and Afghanistan in the peace index, are the kind of voices that want India to cease to be a democracy because of their vested interests. And political parties and Salman Khurshid are only looking to gain brownie points, political brownie points, by making such statements, but are not perhaps understanding how it is going to bring down the entire nation.
Megha ji, thank you for having me on your show. What Mr. Salman Khurshid has said has to be taken very seriously, must be taken very seriously, and is a very serious warning. I don't see it as a statement. I don't see it as a rajneetik vaktavya or a tippani. It's a threat. It's a threat Mr. Salman Khurshid is issuing. He is saying, look, what happened to Sheikh Hasina? Look, Khaleda Zia could not win the elections. She was in jail. Her son did not contest. Whatever happened, he went to UK. He met ISI. Chinese put in the money, and rest all is history. We know what happened. Now they are telling us exactly something like this can happen because we are exactly in the same position. We cannot win the elections. The electorate has defeated us. Now, how to come back to power? The only best way to come back to power in a democracy is mobocracy. Get few lakh people on the roads, get a few hundred killed, and then storm the palace or the residence of the Honorable Prime Minister, and then try to take our power by the virtue of roads, by the virtue of people, by the virtue of your muscle power. From democracy, you resort to mobocracy, and it is something like, that Bahubali culture. If you watch the Mirzapur, the biggest Bahubali used to become the leader of the, used to take the gaddi. So then what do we have elections here for? Why do we have 1 billion people voting? If it is about getting the more people on the street and spilling more blood on the streets, is that what you're threatening us? Is Mr. Salman Khurshid literally threatening that the house of Prime Minister Modi will be ransacked?
Yeah.
Is he really threatening that the Prime Minister Modi could be assassinated? I am really watching my words because Khaleda Zia, Sheikh Hasina was told you have 45 minutes. Leave, otherwise we cannot guarantee your life. So if you are talking of what happened in Bangladesh will happen here, and who did it? Her army chief, her navy chief, her air force chief, even her personal security people told her, ma'am, leave, we cannot protect you. When they negotiated with the son, they told her, we have 45 minutes. 45 minutes, we don't know what is going to happen. That is how in half an hour she had to land here. In half an hour, we had to get into a war crisis and give her landing rights and get her helicopter landed here. So are you saying this is going to happen to Prime Minister Modi? Look, Congress is very good at testing the waters. They test the waters with something. When it backfires, they'll say, "Arey, ye to inka personal opinion hai." They said same thing about Sam Petroda. How many times? Now, isn't Sam Petroda back to Congress? Tomorrow, they will say same thing against Salman Khurshid, and Salman Khurshid will continue to be in Congress. And so, who is Salman Khurshid? Senior most leader, former External Affairs Minister of India. Do you expect a former External Affairs Minister of India to say that? Because you cannot win the elections. And let me take you back to Rahul Gandhi. Didn't Rahul Gandhi call America should intervene? Didn't he say the West should intervene in Indian democracy, and West intervenes? What happened in Bangladesh is exactly what will happen here.
Okay,
so what are
yeah.
you calling for? I mean, if you join all the dots, it's a warning. They are issuing a threat to the Prime Minister, elected Prime Minister of India. For the sake of God, it's not a chota mota neta giving some nukkad bhashan somewhere. Former External Affairs Minister of India issuing threat to the current Prime Minister of India. That is the reality of the things, ma'am. It's a very serious thing, and the nation has to get together and send them a message. Come what may, nobody can touch Prime Minister Modi. And and this is not Bangladesh. Huh? Army is not going to come and tow along with you, or army is not going to run away. If even that Bangladesh army would have protected Sheikh Hasina, she would be still the Prime Minister. But the army chose to desert her. And by the way, the current army chief was made 1.5 months back. He is his cousin, Sheikh Hasina's cousin sister's husband. He's hand-picked guy who kind of backstabbed Sheikh Hasina. But in India, we don't have that tradition. Our army is apolitical. Our army lives, fights and breathes for Mother India, not for any political masters. So if Congress has those thoughts, they can mobilize army and do that kind of a thing. Well, that is not going to happen. But what I have fear, Meghaji, give me 30 seconds more, is that they might try to mobilize a lot of mob. They might try to do kind of that mobocracy. They might have a few hundred people killed. Then they will blame it entirely on Prime Minister Modi and BJP. Our people are killed, and that they can set the pace of a re-election. And they will come, Modi should resign, Modi should resign, Modi should resign. When Sheikh Hasina resigned, why Modi would not resign? That is where I see the sinister plan. So it has to be nipped in the bud. And Mr. Khurshid should be called for questioning.
Okay.
You are a very senior person. How can you say like this? Bhai, aapko chote mote vyakti to hai nahi?
Okay. Gautam Mukherjee, how do you view the situation? There has been no comment, no distancing of the Congress from this comment or Salman Khurshid for making such a statement. It is a statement that is then going to raise questions and also then allow for other countries, other organizations to look at India with suspect, and even, like I said, use this as a ploy to subvert India's democracy, its flourishing economy and whatnot.
Well, Megha, it seems certain. It's been happening a lot of places. The farmer protest outside of Delhi and the the rush into Delhi with the tractors, the taking over of the Red Fort was probably the worst of the lot. But this mobocracy is not new now. For the last 10 years, you've had Shaheen Bagh, you've had Northeast Delhi riots, as well as sit-downs on the highway, on the main roads, on places which are totally illegal. So this, I think, without a doubt, will intensify. And it is for the government to strategize, gather intelligence, and try and mitigate this as much as possible. The momentum in a mobocracy should not be allowed to happen. Now, there are many ways, as long as you are determined to stop it without resorting to violence, but making it extremely difficult for large mobs to gather. I think arrests and preemptive moves will have to be made quite early. You know, what we have traditionally done is when people break the law, when there's Article 144, etc., we catch them, we take them to the station, we sit them down for a couple of hours, then we let them go. This kind of thing will have to be done on a preemptive basis as soon as tens and hundreds gather, not when thousands and lakhs gather. And certainly the law has to be enforced in terms of where they can gather, not just anywhere. When we allow this kind of thing, like tractors coming down the road, that has to be stopped at source. Not all the way it comes to a border, like the Shambhu border, and then the whole mob gathers there, decides to pitch tents, the border is sealed off. So mobocracy of a greater and multiple fronts can be expected for sure. That is the minimum of what this Oxbridge-trained lawyer Salman Khurshid is on about. He's also obviously a closet jihadi. This isn't the first time he's made remarks like this. This is another time that he's done it. The Congress party would be keen on it. Much of the India alliance would be keen on it because they see it as a route for themselves. Having said that, the armed forces are certainly so far apolitical. And not only that, we have layers. We have the BSF, we have the CRPF, we have the armed constabulary. And all of these people must be brought into play to suppress mobocracy without killing people. Don't give them an excuse, but don't let them gather. This has to be taken very, very seriously. Otherwise, they'll be held to pay.
Okay.
Megha.
Ambassador said, talking about how it is the right for every countryman to express what they feel, right to protest, right to freedom of speech, and that cannot be taken away. And when there are protests that are taking place, when there is a Shaheen Bagh that takes place, when there are farmers who have gathered on the peripheries of Delhi and hold dharnas, is something that is their right. And what is it that stops India from turning into the anarchy that we see all around in our neighborhood?
I think it's a little difficult question for me to, put my exact sort of on something exactly what could be the reason for this. But yes, one of the main reasons is that we have a very strong constitutional ethos, a very strong democratic ethos. And while these incidents have been taking place, and they've not been, they've been allowed to, because as you said, they have the freedom of speech, they have the right to protest. So usually the governments have been a little careful and a little wary about taking any stern steps. But yes, when they see that it is getting, they have been able to, stop it to some extent and negotiate with them and find, and stop it. But I think the root cause of all these problems, all these incidents that have taken place, still need to be addressed to prevent further escalation in the future. And of course, we have a very, good sort of overall, a good security minded apparatus, a security structure, infrastructure that is in place, which does not allow individuals to get, to be acting, for instance, as it has happened in Bangladesh and conduct a coup, or in Pakistan for that matter. We haven't had that because our soldiers, our army chiefs, our air force chiefs, etc., their first sort of loyalty is to the country and not to the political masters. And we have seen it all through the years, right from independence, we have been seeing that, even during the emergency, the army was apolitical. It did not support or try and do something or interfere in the governance. I think so that, or with the government. Though it was a very sad period in our history, but still, in our democratic history, but still they did not try and, encourage any kind of, at any level of the army, any kind of, action, army or armed forces, of taking or being encouraged to take any such steps.
Okay.
And I think that is one of the reasons why we have been we've been the only country where this kind of thing has not been happening.
Okay. Sumit, a word from you before I wrap this up. Should there now be stern action taken against Salman Khurshid for the comment that he made and be looked upon as inciting people to come up and attack the government, attack the Prime Minister?
I think it goes without saying, because he is a very responsible man. He is a very senior person. He's a foreign external affairs minister of India. He's a very senior Congress leader. Congress has not distanced themselves from him. And when you are doing this, is exactly throwing ideas in the public, throwing ideas to it's like a dog whistle. I look at it as a dog whistle where you're calling people, look, whatever happened in Bangladesh is a shortcut way of coming to power. This can be also done, and you don't have to come in the front, just arrange a few lakh people. In a country like India, it's not difficult to arrange a few lakh people, but the problem is, if this mobocracy kind of a thing happens, you have to stop mobilization and you have to arrest leaders and put them in bars under UAPA. I strongly advocate that Mr. Salman Khurshid should be called for questioning. He should be asked what is the intent. If he has no intentions, it's a mistake, let him issue a written apology, and let Rahul Gandhi also issue a written apology for his right-hand man that he did it. Because
Okay.
But if you look at the sequence of things, they are not going to do it. I am seeing this as a clarion call or a dog whistle for possibly ransacking or risking the life of Prime Minister of India, democratically elected Prime Minister of India, where 1 billion people, 650 million people voted to get Modi ji in the power. People have not chosen you third time in the row. Now what you're looking at shortcuts to come to power and trying to replicate the Dhaka model in Delhi.
Yeah.
This is what your intention is.
Okay, all right.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.